I mean, we're just lucky. And thought no more about it. But you see, the tapir has the only place that doesn't rub on these thorn bushes, these spiky forest trees that it likes to rub against, is his genitals. Now, that's just packed with enormous, well, they're slightly bigger than the end of my thumb. These ticks swell up and they go bright green, because that's the colour to be when they drop off and they get up into the tree, and you can't see them against the leaves. So just thought that's interesting. And then 2 days later I went out for a pee behind a bush, and the childhood nightmare had arrived. My willy had turned green. And I actually knew what you're meant to do. The SAS Special Forces had told me, look lad, always have a roll of sellotape in a jungle, because you're meant to put the sellotape over it and then you pull the tick out without, you know, the head doesn't stay in. But actually I tell you what happens is you scream, you pluck at it and stamp on them and they go whoosh. Yeah, only mild scarring, I'm glad to say. But that's a gift, because, well, they do transmit an awful lot of diseases, but I didn't seem to get anything from that. It's the tiny things that really worry you. And as it happened, I picked up bilharzia, one of the dreads, and your bloodstream fills with worms, and it just reduces 10%, 20% of your energy, so you have to sleep a lot. It's that kind of thing. If you're a writer, you really don't want to lose even 2% of what you've got.
There was an episode on that, right? On the bilharzia bacteria.
Oh yeah, there was, yes.
I think in Rio, if I'm correct.
Yeah, and the other thing you really do need to look out for, and has a Darwinian connection, staying with the Yanomami, it's called a shibono. It's like a theatre on its floor. It functions as a theatre. So it's thatched all the way around, and people are in their hammocks, slung hammocks. And in the thatch live these huge bugs, Rodnius prolixus, the assassin bug, and I knew all about it, of course, because people thought maybe that's what Darwin's disease was, because it's a very simple parasite, and the eggs hatch inside you, and the larvae, they just eat bits of the heart. That's what they're after, crude as could be. So I put my hand up, thought it was a mosquito on my cheek, obviously, pulled it off. Or it's on my neck, she pulled it off. And then thought I was going to pass out. It was huge. Purple with black veins, and a great big hypodermic on the front end, and very long legs so that you hardly feel it. Now, to be on my neck in the first place, it must have been infected in its brain, because the parasite that causes Chagas disease gets into the brain of this insect and makes it, when it drops on your head, directs its movements. It's taken over the brain of this insect, and it goes to your neck, and it bites you and sucks the blood out, and there's a wound there, and then it swings around and it defecates on the bite, and then you put your hand up and scratch, and that forces the eggs into your bloodstream, and from 1 to 20 years later you die of no treatment, degeneration of the heart. So I yelled at Juan, who's with me, said, "Did it bite me? Did it bite me?" And he said no. I was very, very lucky.
Tom de Hoog, 1990, would like to know, what book is on your bedside table and why?
Well, it's a wonderful book. Well, it's a very short book by a man called Ian Tattersall, and it's called Extinct Humans, and it is, I hope, about the next series that we'll be doing for vpro. Mind you, they haven't said yes yet. I haven't said anything, in fact. But the idea would be to carry on from The Descent of Man, and it's subtitled Or the Origin of Man, and we call it Out of Africa, something good like that. That would cover all the latest research and discoveries that have been well, marvellous, new view of everything we have since Bronowski did The Ascent of Man. And I think it's fascinating thought that at least 5 different species of humans were around, completely different species, during the time that we've been Homo sapiens sapiens. For instance, I mean, the most dramatic, wonderful one, the little Flores man, discovered only, 2 years ago? Knee-high, really knee-high, living on Flores, and exquisite little bows and arrows and spears found with them. Perfect, I mean, absolute, really amazing amount of material. There's no doubt about it. These little tiny men lived around 12,000 years ago, and I think they came screaming out of the grass, hunting a giant rat on Flores. It's all, the evidence is all there. There's 12,000 years ago, so within oral memory almost. And then Neanderthal, the big giants. Yes, that's what I'd like to do. And it would start where I grew up. Again, childhood's very important. Next door was Avebury, this magnificent stone circle, and then Stonehenge, and then we used to go up to Orkney, which is just a magical place because very few trees, and very few trees then. So everywhere you look, you're actually looking at a landscape that's 4000 BC. So 6,000-year-old farm walls. It's an exciting project.
So you're already working on a new TV project, or thinking
Yes.
about a new TV, and the
Yes.
Beagle is not even over yet.
No.
So just to remind everyone, we zijn vragen aan het beantwoorden via Twitter. Je kunt je vragen stellen met het hekje vpro BGL in je Twitterberichten. Als je nog een vraag wil stellen, wees er snel bij, want we gaan niet al te lang meer door. En we kunnen ook helaas niet alle vragen beantwoorden, want we krijgen er heel veel. Ralfster would like to know, Mr. O'Hanlon, what is your opinion on Darwin supposedly becoming religious on his deathbed?
Absolute nonsense. Complete nonsense. Henrietta, one of his daughters, was naughty. She took out a lot of, a few paragraphs from his autobiography, where he says that the instinct for religion was the same order as our fear of snakes, for instance. She didn't like that, took that out. But absolutely no truth in it, whatever. My friend Richard Dawkins, he's very worried that people might say that about him. So he's arranged in his will for 3 witnesses to be there.
To make sure that nobody thinks that he became religious
no
when...
horrible priest will be allowed in the house.
And have you also wrote a will like that, or you're not?
No, I didn't think I was important enough for that sort of thing.
Hank Power Focus would like to know, hi Redmond, I thought that Darwin had a lot of his ideas from Alexander from Humboldt. He adored him. How do you think about that? What do you think about
Yeah,
that?
absolutely right. So he did. And Humboldt really is a terrible writer, or seems so now, whereas Darwin seems better and better. Darwin writes for his sentences to be read. Humboldt writes as if he's a German, which he was. And sentences go on forever, and there's a lot of terrible romantic asides you have to get through, grandeur and so on. And Darwin picked up a bit of that. But yes, Humboldt, great man, wonderful, first oceanographer, the first man to, he discovered all these currents, the first guy to measure temperatures in the surface of the sea. He's a first in so many ways. It's as if he's a sort of a frame of the picture that people made their own discoveries within. That marvellous idea, which seems so simple now, but absolutely wasn't at the time, that as you go up a mountain, and Humboldt's seen, well, I've got his maps, marvellous maps of the ecological zones, so that as you go up a mountain, you're in effect walking towards the poles. You're going into the land of glaciers, and he was the first to realise that and map the zones of plants. So he certainly founded ecology.
Oh.